tier set acquisition blue post, where, so they went over things. Right. Should we expect to see similar class groupings on tokens as we did in the past, where they then go and say that they liked how 4 groups of 3 classes played out, so they won't be returning to Vanquisher, Conqueror, Protector. The design intent is that each token has a thematic link and a variety of folks can use it. So there's going to be Mystic for Druid, Hunter, Mage, Venerated for Paladin, Priest, Shaman, Zenith for Monk, Rogue, Warrior, and Dreadful for DH, DK, and Warlock.
Yeah. What I thought was really, really cool about that was, I don't think it was a blue post. It might have been Wohead who typoed and had, instead of, I think it was Monk, Rogue, Shaman there. So there was no Warrior. And, talking about it being flavorful, I looked and went, wait, where's Warrior go? Oh, it goes in Zenith. Because I actually knew from the words what classes they're talking about. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right with that point. Nice.
Yeah, so it's great. Okay, so next now, how many of these will drop? So, all tier dropping Mythic bosses will have 2 tier tokens for Mythic Raid containing 20 eligible players. In the case of a scaling raid like a normal or heroic, 10 loot eligible players will see 1 token drop, while 30 will see 3 tokens drop.
1 per 10 on average.
So that's how that works.
Are there breakpoints or randomness? Oh no.
Are the tier tokens tradable? If I have equipped an item of the same or higher item level in the token slot, are they tradable without restrictions? You need to have soulbound a tier piece of equivalent or higher item level to be able to trade tier pieces. The same applies to tokens.
This is another one of those cases where, this is, I think they've done a reasonably good job with these tier tokens overall. But I do sit here and think, okay, why do you not put them on the loot table and make them master loot? And then personal loot players would, avail from it being fairly okay, not have much issues. But everyone who's really impacted by this wouldn't be impacted by it because it'd have master loot on a checkbox. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right, next then, how is... it's time to get into the Great Vault. You've got something in that coming.
Yeah, I love the Great Vault. It's so good, and isn't it one of the worst things I've ever done?
Hey, Matt. Bing, bing.
Wahoo. Yippee! Wahoo!
How is the item level of a tier piece determined for the Great Vault? Completing 1 plus 15 dungeon gives us a 278 piece of loot in the vault. So does that mean it'll be a 278 as well in this same slot in the Great Vault? Okay. Yes, the item level is equivalent to what you've earned through heroic deeds across the various different game systems. Next, when creating tier set items with the creation catalyst, which is the new thing that will let you basically turn a regular bit of gear into a bit of tier gear, with, of course, the requisite cosmic flux, which is a bit like the Echoes of Nyloth currency from 8.3. Well, 8.3 dot whatever, because that was like a little patch thing. What is the item level of the tier piece after the process is complete? Is it the same as the item level of the base piece given to the creation catalyst, or are there item level ranges that, correlate to LFR, normal, heroic, or mythic? To which they say the item level, it'll just be the item level of the thing you put into the catalyst. So if you put like a 270 in, you'll get a 270 bit of tier out. It also keeps mythic / PvP upgrade paths, tertiary stats, and sockets.
Why are you like this?
You're gonna have to optimize. Though I mean, I guess their thing of like, you don't want to just gobble up that socket you're happy you got. So that's maybe what they're thinking. But also, it does kind of mean that like tier isn't tier. So it does erode the idea of getting bis because you're like, my tier has no sockets and no tertiary stats. Yeah. Jim's tier set has leech and a socket. Therefore, I feel bad.
Yeah, which means...
some of how people feel about these randomly bolt-on systems.
Exactly, because if you're not aware, the Creation Catalyst doesn't open until 8 weeks after the patch, which is a long-ass time because it's sort of designed as a backup for the Great Vault and also a... well, if the Great Vault didn't exist, you wouldn't need this, ideally, but it's a backup for the Great Vault, and also it is to solve the alt catch-up problem, because that inevitably exists in this game. So then you're like, okay, well, sockets, now you cannot get... well, I guess you... actually, that's a good question. I don't know if the tokens will roll tertiary. I think they said that, right? Wait, did they not say tokens wouldn't roll socket, or tier wouldn't roll sockets?
You know what? I cannot confirm, so I don't want to say it.
Yeah, if anyone in chat...
yes, I would prefer not to be wrong in this.
I have a funny feeling they said tier wouldn't roll sockets, but I might be completely off base there. But
That's the funny thing. I don't give a shit. I mean, I do give a shit because it's like maybe this isn't the best. But I mean, me personally, this is a nice ability I've gained of just not giving a shit about the extra bing bing wahoos. It's very freeing. It'll mean that you can see Korthia and be like, I don't think I want to do that. I'll just have to make B with rubbish conduits.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to do that. You don't have to get burnt out.
Yeah.
So
that's the problem. This is stuff like this isn't a big deal, but you wonder why. And you're like, okay, well, why do sockets exist as rules on gear? Is it worth it for players to go, oh, tokens can roll sockets and tertiaries?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so there's a decent chance that you get tier from, say you're a Mythic Raider, you get the tier bit you want, doesn't have a socket. Fuck. Well, I'm not going to get another tier gear, so for me to feel like I'm optimized, or, someone might just have, say you're a, what is it? Let's say you're I don't know if you'd be a monk, but let's say you're a monk, right? You're a monk, you get your trousers, they come with a socket. Next week, Rogue gets a token, because you're the better player, you got it first. The Rogue gets the token, bang, socket. Assuming this is, say, week 4, you have to wait a month before you can get trousers as good as his. Or you could re-roll, for the tier, but if you're not, if it's 2 per 20, the chance of you getting a second one in 4 weeks is pretty low. So you have to wait 4 weeks, and then you go to Mythic Plus, get a bit of gear that's higher item level, maybe not the Mythic, but especially with Heroic, Mythic Plus, easier, higher level gear. And then you turn it in, but you keep going for another socket, then you turn it in.
Oh no, man, don't do this.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I suppose.
Apparently only the helmet slot can even get a socket. I don't know why you think others would. I haven't seen anywhere that helmets only get sockets, so if that's true, then fair enough. But also, why the helmets get socket? But that seems really.
Per what they've said here, if you just get a chest that rolls a socket and you turn that into tier, it'll have a. Yeah. It'll have a socket.
Yeah. So it's,
as Frank Barry just says, just give dual crafting something to add.
Yeah,
you could do something like that.
It's that awkward case of just like, why is it like this? This is another case of, this is technically a bonus, but it has a greater potential to have people feel bad, and negativity bias in humans means you make people feel bad. That's worse than making people feel happier.
Isn't it a good thing that you have a very big deep dive video on motivational psychology coming out on our other channel next week?
Yep, absolutely.
It'll apply to things like this.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, are tier sets created by the Catalyst upgradable, or do you need to remake the tier with a higher, item level base piece? Yeah. You'll want to remake it with a higher item level base piece unless the initial version had an upgrade path from PvP Ram Plus and you earned the currency to allow it to be upgraded in that way. Yeah. So there you go. And then how are the Catalyst charges going to work? Catalyst charges will start relatively rare, 1 a week, and then accelerate in acquisition rate as the patch moves moves towards the future. These values will gradually accelerate over time to the point where eventually you'll be earning a charge every other day. So basically they are applying a throttle to that system because I guess they just don't want a situation where people, because there is charges to this, so they don't want a situation where some players are just going to giga farm as much of that, and then, bam, they just convert all, get themselves a little bit of tier super quick. So it's that sort of thing where, whenever you kind of throttle a thing, it can feel bad, but they're evidently doing that because they don't want to make a humongous chore, because whatever amount you would be able to craft on day 1, that's the amount of flux that everyone would be really trying to farm up. I assume anyway. Now, the next thing then, speaking of your favorite thing in the universe, Matt, the Great Vault. So, Squishy actually did fantastic work.
Yeah.
I love data like this. So, Squishy at Wowhead did some testing in the PTR to see what the chances of getting a bit of tier from the Great Vault is, because Blizzard didn't really clarify any of this stuff. And, maybe a little bit iffy, but that's kind of part and parcel of the Great Vault itself. So, for his test, Squishy opened a total of 200 Great Vaults. Each one had 1 Mythic Plus option, and only obtained from all of this 12 bits of tier gear. So roughly a 6% chance at getting a tier set piece. Yeah. The total breakdown from 200 Great Vault openings were 188 non-tier set pieces, 2 tier set helms, 1 with a socket, 2 shoulders, 3 chests, 1 was indestructible, 3 gloves, and 2 pants. And the conclusions here, based on the data, are that the Great Vault can presumably drop tier set pieces from any boss in Sepulchre, even ones you haven't killed. So the Great Vault could give you a tier chest or tier shoulders, which come from the final 3 bosses at the beginning of Mythic Week. And those are items that will not be possible to unlock until that week, because the bosses aren't unlocked till then. So this could immediately give you a 4 set at the start of week 2 if you have the other 3 pieces. And the second point that has been confirmed is that tier set pieces from the Great Vault can roll tertiaries and sockets and will be the same item level as the piece you otherwise would have got in that slot. That's how it works thus far on PTR, obviously subject to change. Then, some unknown factors. Do tier sets have a flat percentage chance to drop to replace a normal item in each slot/row, or are they just added to the overall pool of loot? Does each row have the same chance of dropping tier set pieces? Can the vault give you a piece of tier set that you already own? Oh, I really hope not. Can the Great Vault give you the same tier piece multiple times in different boxes? Again, hopefully not.
I mean, if it obeys the laws of the Great Vault, which they haven't suggested it won't just exist as the Great Vault items, then
yeah,
yep,
that would not feel good.
No, sir.
So the estimated chance then of percentage chance of getting tier with the vault then. So assuming the probability of a tier set piece is static based on the data above, it's about a 6% chance. The percentage chance in the table is the chance of at least one piece that you can get with, depending on the vault slots. So if you get all 9 slots of your vault, you have a 42% chance. Let's just say you max out rating and Mythic Plus, 31% chance.
Yeah.
Now, if it is added to the existing pool,
which I think is the case, considering 6% seems close to 5.2%, which is the individual chance. But
so if that is the case,
yep,
then doing everything is a 61.5.
Yep.
So,
which, obviously, you consider, okay, I have half the tier I need, so I need the other half. That's a 30% chance a week. That's 3 weeks to get a bit of tier you want. That goes down every week, which is, how it works. But obviously, you do get it from playing the game as well. But man, I
think remove the Great Vault and replace the gear per week that you earn from the vault. Do that some other way that doesn't involve a disappointment box.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty simple solution, really. FF has its way of doing things that I think players would actually find quite motivating with how they operate with their little tokens.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah. What's that? Would you like a deterministic backup system that is on top of the, fairly simple existing, here's loot, you probably want it, system that you can't go, I've had a bad week. I got my token. It'll be a week or two. It'll be guaranteed in a week or two, as opposed to, am I just going to get wrecked? And that's the thing. I mean, the idea that, if they don't change this, you can just get, like Badges of Frost. Yes, exactly. So, you can get a 4 set at the start of week 2. It's insane that they think that is a possibility, feels good to players, versus it feeling bad, especially in a competitive game. It's the equivalent of, you have a 10% chance when you start a game of CSGO that you've got double health. Every time you go in double health, someone's going to have double health and be better than you. You're like, fuck, why is it like this? Obviously different in PvE and PvP, technically speaking, but it's still that feeling of, why is that person, I have no control over this and that person's got better. This is literally unfair.
Yeah.
Like, just literally unfair. I don't know. There was a question I wanted to address.
Bring it back to Wrath.
Yeah.
I would just run a bunch of dungeons, get some gear, and Wrath. Yeah. Felt good.
Yeah, Wrath them up.
So I'd be happy with that. I mean, I understand their issues with the over-justification effects, but the thing is, when your random reward becomes expected, then you have all of the downsides of a deterministic system, and then on top of that, you have all of the downsides of the RNG. So when it feels new and fresh, you'll get the benefit of, how motivating an unexpected reward is.
Yeah.
But you run that experiment for long enough that the unexpected reward becomes expected, then not getting it equals disappointment.
Yeah.
And you're basically right back to where you started in Wrath with your badges, just that the player experience of it is worse. And that's what they've done.
Yep. And
It's
there's
rough.
yeah,
And
there's
just look at FF and like its
Yeah.
tokens. Seriously, it works pretty damn well.
Yep. And that's the thing. You're like, oh well, yeah. There's so many differences. How do you know that's the reason people are happy? Oh, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something else. That's the thing. You have to take a gamble and hope for the best. You have to look and go, well, let's think of why this is working. You have to think about what do players feel when they play your game, and generally speaking, World of Warcraft is very much in terms of, I guess, from certain scientific theories, in a very bad position for player experience.
Yeah, and first, many MMOs and loot-driven games.
Oh yeah,
are
of
too.
course. I mean, the majority of AAA gaming at the minute is an utter nightmare hellscape, and clearly they're all abusing short-term tactics as opposed to caring about the long-term user experience. But
Yep,
Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead, go.
that's why a lot of this motivational psychology, I think, needs
Yeah.
to percolate a lot more in the game development space.
Yeah.
Because I think as MMO players, we're maybe some of the first people to feel those downsides.
Yep.
So in a way, it's almost incumbent on us
Yeah.
as being some of the first people to realize these negative effects that we should spread the word to everyone else in the other segments of gaming, so that they can not make these mistakes or run into these roadblocks. Which when you are pioneering a genre. Or, like WoW kind of was, it's very easy to make those mistakes because it's not like it's not like somebody just wrote the rule book and you follow it. You're kind of charting your course forward. But then the important thing is basically just, course correcting back. So the next thing then is the creation catalyst system, which, refreshingly does take us back to something a little bit more deterministic. Now, there's a bit more to it, but to just get into it. So this week we found out more about the creation catalyst system in the new patch. Now, if you're unaware, this is, not only is this catch-up or bad luck protection, but it will also allow people who only do Mythic Plus or PvP to get themselves some tier gear, which, does make a lot of sense because for loads of people, M Plus is the way they play WoW.
Yeah.
So being able to get some tier, albeit a bit slower than the Raiders, good. That's fair. I'm happy to have, the M Plus players be able to work towards that really cool, lofty goal of getting their tier set. Now, that said, you will have to wait 8 weeks until the Creation Catalyst is actually unlocked, and then additional time between each craft because of the cooldown, which is where Dakora puts in this little happy smiley face. But that said, if there wasn't that cooldown and the Cosmic Flux was a bit more uncapped,
Spammy.
then that could lead to creating a humongous chore, and then everything in the game feels like soul ash.
Yeah.
So that's also when we have to be careful about the new thing. So with this, they're trying to ride that fine line of, hey, you can go get some Cosmic Flux, but also we know that if we create a daily jackbox that is way too aggressive, you won't have fun in the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this is going to feel, but I at least like that they are trying to solve that particular creating a chore problem with it.
Yeah, I think that specifically is a good problem to solve. I also think there's this case where this is a little bit of determinism to stop bad RNG, which I think is exactly the direction they need to go with almost everything.
Yeah.
The Great Vault is RNG to stop bad RNG, but then that interacts poorly with the Mythic Plus system. So you have RNG that isn't actually to stop bad RNG. It becomes the first layer of RNG because you really want the higher item level gear that week, which is where that runs into problems. But this is like, here's a bit of a bad luck protection, here's a bit of a catch up, here's a bit of a, we've solved the tier set from raid problem. It's all very nice. I do wonder if, I guess I'm trying to think, would this fundamentally be better if this opened earlier and tier didn't drop or something like that?
Whoa.
That's, that sounds awful, but it's more the realm of if tier was deterministic, but then you could have some choice in which way you oriented towards it, or you had a little tiny bit of work to do to get it. Would that possibly feel better? I don't know. It would certainly be a departure from what people think of go do raid, get gear. But I think, I'll spend time thinking about it. I don't think anyone else will.
Well, to explain the system, so here's where it is. That's the place to go to. And the way that it works is you got these charges. They start relatively rare, being 1 a week, and then they accelerate in their acquisition rate as time goes on, to the point where, of course, as I said earlier, you will get a charge every other day. Now, once you have a charge in the catalyst, you put in the basic bit of gear that you would like to get turned into an equivalent tier set. You then put in some cosmic flux, which is a new currency that you get by basically doing anything at the end game. And out of that, you will transform that regular and a bit of non-tier gear into some tier gear. And it's interesting because even the PvP stuff has a conversion over that actually keeps its item level system from PvP as well. Yeah. So I suppose that's kind of neat. Which that's I guess is actually quite good because it means that for the raiders, I mean, I'm sure many of them will just to fill that hole and get the set bonus.
Yeah.
But at least, it's not the optimal one for a raider to get, so maybe some raiders won't feel like they have to. Obviously, the mythic raiders will just be doing PvP to fill up their box.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Could be better, could be worse, whatever it is, what it is. Now, the item level of the gear will remain the same. When it is converted into tier, it will keep any tertiary stats or sockets, and as noted in the blue post, PvP and M+ gear will retain their upgrade level property, meaning that you can still upgrade that stuff with Conquest or Valor. So actually VP upgrades for tier set bonus for the tiers. Interesting. Now, PvP non-tier slot gear conversion. So you can also upgrade non-tier set pieces. So like back, wrists, waist, feet. They're not like tier, as in they don't give you a tier set, but artistically they are tier. You can turn those into tier versions with different stats using the creation catalyst. However, they will not count, of course, towards your tier set. They won't count towards the tier set bonus because it never has worked like that, unless it's some of the expansions where they had like an 8.
Oh yeah, I mean like early days, vanilla obviously had 6 and 8 pieces.
So basically this could be a way to switch up the secondary stats on numerous off pieces to be a bit more beneficial to your spec. Now then, Cosmic...
hang on a second. Hey, would you like reforging back? Also, it's entirely random.
Whoops.
Great.
Now for the Cosmic Flux costs... head, chest, legs, 1,500. Shoulders, hands, 1,200. Waist, feet, 800. Back, wrists, 600. Now, according to Wowhead, you should be able to obtain about 500 of this resource per day by just doing normal activities in Zareth Mortis. Of course, you can get extra by doing treasures or rares. And then, you'll get it from raid and dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice in that you just get this for doing whatever you're doing. And look, if you've been unlucky on getting your bit of tier, but you do have a bit of chest gear or whatever it is, the slot that you need from this patch, use this, you'll get your tier. So ultimately, it does solve a player pain point in a way that is deterministic. That's pretty, clear you can work your way towards. And then you will be able to farm up getting yourself a set of tier way quicker later on in the patch when you're getting more of the energy. Uh-oh, Matt's thinking. Matt's thinking, everyone. This is dangerous.
Right. Now, this is going to sound strange.
Oh dear! What multi-million-dollar franchise are you going to kill now?
Yeah, no, I'm generally just thinking of. I'm just trying to think. Why does Cosmic Flux exist if the charge system is there? I know the answer.
Earn,
of course.
Play.
Yeah, play to earn like NFTs.
Hear, think, feel.
Yeah. So. Yeah, like literally just a thought experiment because it's like, oh yeah, of course, Cosmic Flux, of course. You get a little number every time you do the thing. But why? Why not just make it not cost Cosmic Flux? And then people just do stuff and they won't be thinking about Cosmic Flux. They'll be thinking about the game they're playing. Like, just, I don't know.
I get your vibe. I get that. If you put some other rewards in Cosmic Flux, maybe you could do something. But I guess then it turns into like...
Anima 2 or 3,
yeah, like
4,
Anima, but for... Yeah, then it just turns into Anima 2 and you...
Yeah.
But I suppose Anima itself, like if you remember how much better Anima felt whenever you just got more for rating and you felt like you could more viably work your way towards some of those goals.
Yeah.
Obviously not the best system in the world, definitely, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, look, I appreciate here that they are giving players a way to counteract the bad RNG that is a good bit more deterministic. I do appreciate that change. We'll have to see in the future for 10.0 what gear looks like, because certainly in this patch they are trying a few new ideas.
Yeah,
which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, also that's not like I'm not trying to have a dig at Cosmic Flux. Also, yeah, it's used for legendaries, and not another good point. It's like, yeah, more just a thought I had, I guess.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's the Creation Catalyst, which is one of the new systems you will be dealing with.
Which is cool. I didn't expect to be, here's a new system you're dealing with. And be like, yeah, seems like a net positive, to be honest. Seems like a net positive, so I'm happy enough with it.